City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cadella.
Here.
Alderman Knipe.
Here.
Alderman Coles.
Here.
Alderman Lewitton. Alderman Police.
Here.
Alderman Shockey.
Here.
Alderman Wesley.
Here.
Alderman Winger. Mayor Johnson.
Here. Quorum being present, would you stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? May I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 2nd, 2007? Is there a second? Second. By Alderman Shockey, second by Alderman Coles. Any comments, corrections, or additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bills, Alderman Wesley?
Make a motion to pay the bills of $841,365.71.
Is there a second? Second by Alderman Knipe. On the question? Alderman, please.
On page 7, we've got Kluber, Skahan, and Associates. I thought we still owe them money, or I thought we paid everything except for what's on hold or whatever.
Mr. Holm?
That's for a separate contract, feasibility, space needs analysis for our public works facility.
That's right.
Alderman Wesley?
Mr. Mayor, I have two questions. Springfield trip on page 3. Whose conference was that, may I ask? Yep, bottom. $316.80.
Chief?
Alderman, that's to cover travel expenses for overnight lodging for our communications supervisor, Craig Celia, and one of our telecommunicators, Matt Grunwald, for an APCO conference. That's a 2-day conference, and they'll be in Springfield.
Okay. Could I ask one more question, Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Wesley?
Page 5, Clock Professional Incorporation. Is that 2 separate bills there, or is that one?
Chief?
Oh, is that yours too?
Yes, that's for the 2 armors for our police department for recurrent training so that they can repair our weapons that we own. That's from Glock. That's our designated weapon that the department furnishes to us.
Okay, thank you.
And that came out of training.
Thank you.
Alderman Shockey?
Yes, page 2, James Benison Associates, the last one, engineering services for the driving range. When was that started?
Mr. Holm?
I don't know the exact date. It was right after I started here, though, and I started here in June of '05. I believe it was the late summer or fall of '05 when the Park District came and began that process.
Was that long ago?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Alderman Coles.
Yes.
Alderman Police.
Yes.
Alderman Knipe.
Yes.
Alderman Cadella.
Yes.
Alderman Shockey.
Yes.
Alderman Wesley.
Yes.
That passes. Do any citizens wish to address the City Council this evening? If so, if you go to the podium and give us your name and address, please. Mr. Gatke?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. It's been a while since I've been here. Been busy enough of doing some other things, but I have a quick question here, a couple things. One, I just wish that all the departments in this city of Wooddale would run as smooth, kind, considerate, courteous, and listen to the residents of the city of Wooddale like the police department does. Now, I was here at the last city council meeting, I know it was quite a fee weeks ago. I had a concern in our neighborhood about a traffic problem of young students going to Fenton High School, coming around the corner at Spruce and Hiawatha. There's a stop sign there, but they just don't stop, they come right through there. And we traveled up north on, or going west up on Hiawatha, cars look at you like, why aren't we stopping? No, they have the stop sign, I don't. And if I'm going to be making a left turn, and they just come flying straight through there. And the very next morning after I talked to the chief, There was a police officer there at 7:30 in the morning, and guess what? They were sitting there issuing tickets to some of the students at Fenton High School, so they will learn next year that they better stop. And after that day, the follow-up, a police officer did call my house and asked me if things were being done, and I told him yes, for the next 3 or 4 days, there was a police officer sitting there at that intersection, and that problem was taken care of. So I'd like to thank Chief Benowitz for doing such a good job. He listened to the problem, and he resolved the problem right away without having to come back and complain 2 or 3 times. And I know he's a very good chief because he had a very good teacher. Second, city manager. I came over a couple weeks ago to see the city manager about a problem in the city, and I was told he was at lunch and he was downstairs at the police department. He was doing on his lunch break, he was doing his workout, but when I asked downstairs at the police department if the city manager was in, they asked me my name, they gave him my name, he said, sure, come on in. And we sat in there and talked for about half an hour, 45 minutes. Now that was good because he didn't say, well, I'm on my lunch break, go away, or come back tomorrow. No. City manager Frank Williams said, come on in, we sat down, we talked, and we resolved the problem. And the problem I had was I asked the city manager, who owns Potter Street between Ash and Spruce? You know, sometimes I get concerned because I know we have a lot of builders come into town, they do their job, they give you people a nice story. We, the residents of Wooddale, suffer for it, and they take off. Now I understand when the first cut was made across that street to put sewers in because they're building along the railroad track, and you got the new subdivision across the street and the other one by the old factory there. They made the first cut, they paved it right away, no problem. Street was fine. All summer long, we've had to put up with potholes that whole street. They made 7 more cuts across that street, and none of them were paved. I mean, the potholes. I mean, we have city servicemen drive down that street every day. You have all that new home construction going on over there. You have the city building inspectors going by there every day on that road, and nobody says nothing. It takes a resident to go over there and come to the city hall and say, hey, when are you going to fix the potholes? And maybe a week or so later, guess what? The street got paved. But it shouldn't have to be that way. City departments are supposed to be responsible and do their own thing here. Another question I have, I know the city, when I haven't been to the city council meetings, I still like to watch the programs on TV. And I noticed the other night, my new alderman here, Nunzio and Wesley, this city has a bad habit of studying things to death and spending a lot of money. And one good example is the train station. I've been here at city council meetings. I lived in this town for 35 years. It goes back a long time. Look in the record and see how many people were chairman of Streetscape and studied that problem. This is not a problem for the last 1 or 2 years, the train station. This thing has been studied to death for years. And I was over the train station. I used it 2 weeks ago. I had family in from out of town. We went downtown Chicago. That train station, you go along all the line, that's an embarrassment to the city of Wooddale. It's filthy, it's dirty, nobody uses it. It would be better off if you tore it down and just had a roof over there, because nobody sits inside. Everybody was outside, even on a hot day. So I don't know what the plans for that train station are, but it sure has been studied to death and a lot of time and money wasted, and nothing has still been done over there. We keep talking about it, but nothing gets done. One of the other things that we studied to death is water retention ponds. I took a bike ride the other day, and I know it's a sore subject. You go over there by the Madonna property. That thing's been in lawsuits in and out of court for 25, 30 years. There used to be a nice water retention pond on Wood Lane Court. Now it's dry. You drive around the back. Oh, we did a good engineering study. We put a new water retention pond back in the Madonna subdivision. Who gives that developer permission? The city's always concerned about water going into city sewers. Who gives that developer permission to pump all the water from that new retention pond down into the city sewer over there? Why is he pumping all this water into our city sewers? And I tell you one thing, we had to complain about the streets over there on Montclair and Iroquois. You want to see a street that's real nice shape? Go over, have you been over that subdivision lately? And you see the ruts this deep and all that stuff on that street? The last point is, when you study these water retention ponds, I had a house built over on Hiawatha Trail 18 years ago. There was a little subdivision there, maybe about 13, 14 homes put in there. Now, I don't know who the city paid which engineering company, and who says that there has to be a water retention pond on Montrose, on East Montrose. I wish somebody would look into that and say, who decided that we need a water retention pond in Montrose? Please tell me, where was the water going to come from and where was it going to go? I've lived there 18 years. Guess what? There hasn't been a drop of water in that retention pond in 18 years, and we've had a lot of rainstorms since then. So who's doing this study and who's kidding who? You guys are spending a lot of money, I'll tell you. Just look at that water retention pond. There hasn't been a drop of water in there in 18 years. So somebody tells me their engineering study wasn't too good, which brings down the last point I heard you talking the other night on TV was about Irving Park. How long has Irving Park been studied to death? And like I agree with some of the aldermen here, it's the city elected officials that live in this community. They know what the city needs and what it doesn't need. We don't need experts from outside telling us what worked in some other town. We know what we want. We know what works here. So you're supposed to make those decisions and let them tell you maybe this could work, this could not work. But to pay all this money and study this town to death and have nothing done, to me, it's just a waste of taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gatke. Mr. Holm, as to the question of the temporary pumping of the Ethan Woods Pond and the status of that project, would you give everybody an update on that, please?
As to the status of the temporary pumping, staff was directed by council to have the developer continuously pump that pond out because of the complaints that were received in the area about the water quality of the stagnant water in the pond. It does go to a city storm sewer and then through the drainage system. The project itself is back under construction again, although we have a delay here for probably, we're anticipating very short delay. The project is going forward, the storm sewer system is being installed, and knock on wood, you know, we're all anticipating that very quickly it will be to the point where that we can get started with houses out there.
Was that wood you used to knock on? Thank you, Mr. Holm.
Can I ask you one question, please?
Alderman Coles.
In our retention pond on Woodland Court, when are you gonna get that piece of pipe off of that?
Well, remember, it's
Been there for 2 years.
as the whole project has been ground to a halt for 2 years, and right now that whole site is essentially the developer's site. I know we've had this discussion several times
I was
around in
gonna take a
circles.
chain and hook it on my car and rip it off and put it in the middle of the street to get rid of it.
And it's part of the big development picture out there, which isn't so rosy.
Been there for 2 years. People call me all the time. When are they removing that piece of pipe? They're sick of looking at it. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
Alderman Wesley.
Mr. Mayor, can I address the issue with the train station?
Thank you, Mr. Holm. Alderman Wesley.
Mr. Skacke, that train station, we are looking at redoing that train station, but the price tags came back a lot higher than we bargained for. First of all, it wasn't supposed to be paid by any taxpayers' money. It was supposed to be paid by redevelopment of developers that built in town. We could sit up here and pass a train station right now if the taxpayers want to pay. The price tag is way over what we were told by that designed the train station. He was way off his estimate. Now, if the people want us to go ahead and take the taxpayers' money here and to do that train station, then I will be more than happy to do that. But as elected official, my job is to look at the finance director of the money that's being spent in this community. That is my job. But if the city wants, if the employees, if the people out there want to spend $1.5 million for a train station, then I'll do it. But I don't think the people want to spend $1.5 million for a train station when half our people don't use it in this community. Some do, but if you drive through that parking lot, half of them are from Addison, Elk Grove. You know, they aren't in our town. So why should our taxpayers pay for that? The train station is still ongoing. I'm not saying we aren't. The study is, we put a halt on the study until we get our fingers on which direction to go. And for the road concern that you had, I did drive it in that area last night. We did drive down there. That road is terrible, no doubt about it. They got those metal things across the roadway, and I think it needs to be addressed. The safety concern was addressed, which Frank took care of. I mean, we're doing the best we can, but as elected official, we have to look at the it is finance the way spending money around this community. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the train station's taking a lot longer than it's bargained for, and I just want to make sure that the taxpayers are not paying for a $1.5 million train station, because it shouldn't be us. Thank you.
Any other citizens wish to address the city council this evening? I do not have any written communiques. That brings us to mayor's report. Pleased to report on the status of CALIA accreditation. Chief Benowitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I start, I'd like to introduce several members of our police department that I think you should know, or at least reacquaint you with. On my right is our civilian supervisor, Craig Celia. Craig has been in charge of our CALIA program in our communications center. We've been accredited. We originally started our journey for accreditation down there in 2001. Our initial accreditation was down in 2003, and we were recently reaccredited in the fall of 2006. One of the reasons why we're here is not only because of the effort of everybody on the police department, but more specifically because of Craig Celia and with his tenacity to stick with the task that's at hand here. Also, we're one of 4 other police agencies in the state of Illinois which are an accredited communication center. We submitted ourselves to 216 standards of performance, which aids to the professionalism, which is, you can see from hearing feedback from our citizens, is typical of the Wooddale Police Department. And once again, it's because of the efforts of the people in the communication center, the other members of our police department, but specifically because of Craig Celia. Also recently, in 2007, just a month ago, we were successful in our 3rd reaccreditation with CALIA. And unfortunately, Dean Kostopoulos is not here with us tonight. There's a family emergency. They took him out of town. He's our current accreditation manager and has been so since 2004. Prior to that, at my extreme left, is Sergeant Mike Rivas. He originally started in our accreditation role in 1998 as our first accreditation manager and got us to our first successful on-site. He continued with his quest for perfection through CALIA with becoming an assessor, and quite often, I think about 2 times a year, he is requested to go to other police departments on his own time and assess their operations and bring back some of the best ideas to Wooddale that are current through
If
the
I
nation.
can interrupt you just a second, the record will reflect that Alderman Winger has joined us at 7:50 p.m. Chief Benowitz.
Since our first on-site, which Mike successfully led us through in 2003, Deputy Chief Greg Vesta, on my left here, was our 2nd accreditation manager. After the work which was started by Mike, Greg built on that. He got us to the point to where we were accredited in 2006. But once again, I have to reiterate, this was through the cooperation, teamwork of every individual in the police department. Now brings us to 2007. Correction, in 2005, Greg started that process. 2003 to 2006, and then Dean Kostopoulos stepped in, and then he brought us to our current position. Our CALIA standards on our police ops spec side is 446 standards of performance. In our last accreditation on site, we were in compliance with 97% of those standards which are set nationally. It makes us not only one of the few departments in the state of Illinois, and with regards to the standing in the state of Illinois, there's right now 1,250 local, municipal, and state police agencies. Of those, 52 right now are currently accredited. There's another 19 that are seeking accreditation. That puts us roughly in the top 5% of every police agency in the state of Illinois. It's because of these individuals here, Sergeant Dean Kostopoulos and the other members of the police department, I'm happy to report to you that we have now completed our 2nd phase of our accreditation. We are one of the few departments in this whole country that have an accredited communication center and a police department. And as the certificates behind you attest to the fact, we are one of a few with regards to exemplary police service, and we put ourselves out there to be looked at by other police professionals to making sure that we're giving the citizens of Wooddale the best service. Once again, I'm happy to report that we have been reaccredited. We'll continue with our journey. We're preparing right now for our next on-site, which is in 2009 with our communication, and then in 2010 with our police department. But we'll continue this quest for perfection in our police agency. And I'd like to make sure that you know who's responsible for this. It's not only the people, the city, the employees of the Wooddale Police Department, but also some of our command staff members. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor. I'd be more than happy that if anybody would like to prefer any questions to us, please feel free to after the session, or as always, you can contact either one of us during any of the time during the day when it's convenient for you. Thank you.
Chief Mr. Gatke speaks eloquently for all the citizens of Wooddale on the professionalism of the police department, and on behalf of the city council and staff, we join in that and acknowledging the professionalism of your department and the men that serve with you. It's very much appreciated.
In closing, I'm sure that when the rest of the members usually look at the rebroadcast on either the cable or the podcast, they'll appreciate those comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Council, we have with us tonight 3 members of Wooddale Boy Scout Troop 65, Zach Jakulski, Brandon Martin, and Greg Wagner, who are here earning a merit badge on citizenship in the community. And I didn't tell them I was going to do this, but we'll give them a little bit of TV airtime. Gentlemen, would you go to the podium, please? Chief, would you adjust the microphone down a little bit? Gentlemen, what do you like about Wooddale or you don't like? What can we do better? What do we do right? What do we do wrong?
Well, I like about the ideas that you guys are making and stuff, and the stuff that you're changing and making better in the community.
All right.
What I like about Wooddale is that like some things that are happening that I heard in other cities, Wooddale listens to the citizens and other people, not just like saying what happens and that's what happens. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
What I like about Wooddale is that when they made the sidewalks on Stoneham, it was hard for me to get from my house to my friend's house on Oak, and it was just like unsafe to be riding on the street. And now I could ride from my house to my friend's house on the sidewalk.
Council, it's amazing to me every time we do talk to kids of this age how often sidewalks come up as being an important issue for them. Do you have any questions of us, or maybe the council has some questions of you? I think you met with Alderman Wesley a little bit earlier. Did you learn anything about city government? Do you want to be alderman in the 4th Ward at a future date, or? All right, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And Chief, maybe when we break for executive session, you could give a mini tour of the police department, if you have time. Thank you. That concludes the mayor's report. Mr. Manager?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
This is the consent agenda. Is there any objections to any items on the omnibus agenda? Alderman Shockey?
Yes, number 7, please.
All right, number 7 will be deleted. Any other objections? Alderman Wesley?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, I don't think it should be ejected, but the problem is I want to know on that road project, we were supposed to get another road added on here, and we didn't know what road that was. No, I did not know.
That's item 3 you want to bring up for further discussion?
Yeah, I mean,
All right, we'll delete it, we'll bring it up for further discussion. Any other items? May I have a motion to approve the agenda being items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6?
So move.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now may I have a motion to approve the items on the omnibus agenda being an ordinance approving a request to permit a special use for operation of an orthopedics and medical appliance store, approval of special area 14 contract, approval of City of Elmhurst stormwater request, Salt Creek Bike Trail final change orders and financial summary, and approval of sign an agreement to have Rehig Pacific Company supply Wooddale waste containers to be green in color. Is there such a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second,
Roll call.
Alderman Coles,
yes.
Alderman Police,
Yes.
Alderman Knipe,
Yes.
Alderman Cadella,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
yes,
Alderman Wesley,
Yes.
Those items pass. Item 1 is approved as ordinance O-07-27. That brings us to committee chairman reports, planning, zoning, and building. Alderman Shockey.
No report, Mr. Mayor, but I would like to thank the community development staff for the card that they sent to my wife after her surgery. It was very kind of them. My wife was quite pleased to get it.
And she's doing very well, as I understand it.
She's doing very well.
Very good.
And the other item is on the Klein. I guess everybody does not know why the Klein thing was canceled for tonight. That's because we need to incorporate them into the city at the same time, I guess. Correct, Mr. Bond?
Mr. Bond?
That's correct. That would require the Klein property to be annexed into the city in order for you to have any zoning control over that property. There is a petition that has been prepared, so you just need to go through the procedural prerequisites in order for that to happen. And that should be, I think, all the paperwork that will be submitted from the property owner, and that should be available to proceed at the next council meeting.
Alderman Wesley?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask the attorney on that question, or something on that question, or no?
Yes, you may.
My question is, and our long discussion that we had on the Klein property, and our minutes in the committee is going to show that we passed that. My question is, should we have even made that motion on the floor at that time, knowing that the property was not annexed in Wooddale? And my other question was, should the building department have heard that case before the property was annexed in or not?
Mr. Bond?
Yes, it's quite common you would go in that process. Obviously, if you're not going to approve the request they have, and that was a 4-lot subdivision, they're not going to come into town. So it's a chicken and an egg type of situation. So the developer, the property owner has to know what the intent of the city is. So that was proper to have it brought forward at that time. Now that you as a committee have given the PZMB committee has given your approval on it, you've made a recommendation to have the matter proceed to the council for consideration. It's appropriate at that time then to have the annexation go forward. Again, it would be premature to go ahead with the vote on the 4-lot subdivision this evening, and it's not on the agenda, and that's the reason, without having the property annexed. So that would be premature, but what happened up until that point was perfectly appropriate.
That, Mr. Mayor, is the end of my no report.
Thank you, Alderman Shockey. Public Health, Safety, and Judiciary, Alderman Coles.
No report.
Public Works, Alderman Winger.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to approve the special service area number 12, pay estimate number two.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Cadella. On the question? Alderman Wesley.
Question, Mayor. I just received a packet today from all the testings that's been done on that road project so far. My concern about this right now is, and I'm still voting no for this because the simple reason we still got an issue going on. I have not had time to study the report on the road project up there on if it passed the testing stuff so far that's been completed. I'm going to vote no because, due to the fact is I don't know if the test has passed pass the inspection here. I just think that we need to really look at this before we lower the rate here. I know it's a special service area, it's an industrial park that's paying for the project, but if that road fails, not that I don't trust the company that's doing it, if that road's failed, just keep in mind that we may have to eat that bullet and pay to redo those streets. So until the testing, I still say, until the testing is done and completed on the road, we should not reduce it. Thank you.
Anything further? Alderman, please.
A question for Gary. You gave this report to Alderman Wesley?
Mr. Holm?
Yes, he had requested the testing data last week at last week's committee meeting.
Did you look this over? I mean, are the inspections passing, or do we have more failures like
No, I've read through those. Those were all passing or meeting specifications.
Alderman, please, follow up.
I just got a question for the attorney on this. When something like this comes before us, I mean, I'm not sure, we don't have all the ordinances in place. Like I say, we'd like to get all the testing before we make payouts, but I don't think we have those type of ordinances or whatnot set. Can we hold payment back without any ramifications?
Mr. Bond?
Well, as a council, you certainly have the ability to withhold payment if you have some further inquiry you wish to do. That if you hold it back, it has to be for a very short duration to allow you to satisfy whatever documents you need. If you need to talk to Gary or any other staff member to get that information, you can do that. So if that's if the desire is to do that, you would table that item until the next council meeting. In the interim, you would require or request the information necessary in order to make that vote.
Alderman Coles?
I got one question, Gary. Isn't this just resurfacing? It ain't building the whole street. It's just cutting the top off and resurfacing, right?
No, there's actually a combination of both. We're actually
Oh,
taking out
combination of both.
large sections of the roadway that are fully reconstructed.
Oh, all right. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Alderman Winger?
I'm getting concerned that we're questioning our whole process of paying these installments when we had one road that went bad and it was tested and apparently it just went bad. But to restructure our whole process on one time, I'm not buying into that. And the way I understand it, this road is getting tested throughout its installation. And if a test came out bad, a flag would get raised at that point and work would stop or get fixed and then move forward. And really it's the written report, which I believe is in question here. Is that true, Mr. Holm?
Regarding the procedures, that's true. Whether it be field tests or lab tests or plant tests that fail, we're notified of those failures.
Alderman Wesley?
But we weren't notified on the project on the far end of town. I'm not saying that you guys could go whatever way you want to vote on this.